that sometimes it takes people a few minutes. So just going ahead, setting yourself up, getting some water. A little bit later, you're going to be laying back and doing the neural reprogramming portion of this session. So just allowing yourself to get set up for that while we wait just a few minutes. And you have come to the right place. If you feel like sometimes you have trouble getting what you want or need out of life, out of situations, if you feel like you have relationships or areas where you just don't feel heard or you're not quite sure if you're making as much of an impact as you could and as much understanding with others in your life, communication is obviously incredibly important. And it's not just about verbal communication, it's also about nonverbal communication and also about the things we choose not to communicate about, because it's really important as well. It's often an indicator that we're out of alignment in some area and could use some benefit for that. So just allowing yourself to bring to mind some different areas in your life where you feel like you could be heard more, you could share ideas, or you could understand others more, because sometimes we don't communicate because we don't feel like we have the information. And that is just kind of a pattern out of fear or out of feeling like you don't want to cause conflict. So I just really invite you to sort of start to think about those things now. And we'll get started in just a moment. I'm working all this tech stuff out, making sure I have everything that I need. And at any point during the session, you can use the chat box to the right to type in any questions that you might have. If you go to the bottom of the Zoom screen, it says chat right there. You can click that open. During the presentation, I won't be checking the chat box, but it will answer any questions or address anything that you want to mention afterwards. So go ahead and anytime during the presentation or anytime during the session at all, use the chat box and we'll get to it when we have that time. So welcome. I'll just mention people coming in, make yourself comfortable. Chat box. Any questions? All right, so let's get started. Really, it's like all about, you guys discovering today about where your verbal and nonverbal communication is in alignment in your life, things that you really sort of feel like are going your way, ways that you feel heard, and those can be really good models for matching things that you don't feel like are going your way in communication. So you can sort of start to digest a relationship or an area of your life where you feel like things are really going your way and ask yourself, what do I do in that area that I don't do in the areas I'm having issues with? That can be a really good way of starting to explore why you're out of not getting as much out of communication out of those other areas of your life. And you can start to like, in your mind, it will start to sort of make those segues for you. So that can be really helpful. So communication, I'm going to start screen sharing with you guys right now. I created a little presentation. Perfect. Okay. So what is confident communication? What is it? How do we do it? Make this full screen for you guys. There we go. confident communication. What is it? There's a good image for you is a lion starting to just open his mouth, and lions have no trouble because they're so connected to nature, just saying what they need to say, opening their mouths. They're a great symbol of courage for the rest of us. So keep in mind what it would feel like to open your mouth and roar like a lion. So really, an overview of what we're going to learn today is, what is communication? What is it? And also why you should care, what you should care about communication in your life, and whether or not you're doing it as fully and completely as you could. We are also going to talk about unconscious or subconscious reasons that you would have for not speaking up for yourself or not speaking up in any area of your life. Because when we don't say anything, it's actually an agreement of what's going on that we don't agree with. So when we don't speak up, we're actually participating in a way that does not serve us, because it's not authentic or true to who we are. So we're really going to talk about that. Talk about ways in our childhood that we learned not to speak up. Really, really important when we're evaluating and creating amazing communication skills, what our unconscious reasons for not speaking up would be. We're also going to talk about the energy centers, the throat and heart chakras in your body. The energy centers are the areas in your body that correlate with certain areas of your life. So the chakras are, I'll show you an image later, but they're those points in your body that you see kind of at a yoga studio or even at an acupuncture center. All these points in our body are called Nadi Points, and they run throughout the energy channels of our body, and they meet in 7 major centers in our body. And 2 of those are the throat and heart chakras, and they're the ones that mainly govern communication. The throat governs how you actually communicate, what you express. The heart is the meaning, the feeling, and intention underneath what we're communicating, or maybe why we're not communicating. We're also going to talk about techniques for clearing these chakras so that you can open up the energy to flow as easily as you possibly can. And then we're going to do the super fun part, the neural reprogramming transformation area for super confident communication. And that is what is going to set you guys up for total success. So, communication, what is it? A couple of easy, loose definitions are the imparting or exchanging of information or news, the successful conveying or sharing of ideas and feelings. So this is across all areas of life, right? Interpersonal, work, people we know, people we don't know. It's very, very applicable, broad definition of what communication is. And right now in our lives, we are communicating more than ever across all channels, across social media, interpersonal relationships, and also email. Business has changed. We do a lot of things over tech now that we didn't usually do. We communicate via texting very, very often. That is a great way to send quick messages, and also via email and texting and social media, there's a lot of meaning that can be lost in those areas as well. So it's really good to sort of start to think about clear communication with intention in all these areas, because we're communicating and not communicating all the time in many, many different ways. So we communicate verbally, we communicate non-verbally, we communicate with imagery, and we also communicate not by communicating. So this is really interesting also to think about, like, when people are talking to you, what are they saying and what are they not saying? It's very, very interesting to think about, when you're having a conversation with somebody and you're asking them about something, or you're approaching a subject, or and when they respond to you, sometimes you'll notice that they don't respond to what you actually ask them about. And this can be consciously and unconsciously on their part. So this can be about maybe they didn't understand you, but it can also be sometimes a deliberate or unconscious pattern in them where they actually really don't want to broach that subject, or they're uncomfortable, or there's a very variety of different reasons. But it's really important to connect to when people aren't answering what you ask them about. It's very interesting stuff. It's a whole nother area of communication. And everything you do is sending a message to the world. Every way that you interact with your environment is sending a message. It's communicating to other people. And we're so on autopilot in many areas of our life, right? Everybody has a lot of stuff going on. And it's really, really important to recognize that it all matters. And this first area here, it's better to be active versus passive in your life, because, the obvious reasons. Passive is like you might uncover less resistance in the world, but active gets you really to where you want. It puts you at cause instead of effect in your life. It's really, really allows you to actually send the messages that you want to send. It really sort of brings you into alignment. Also, when you start to communicate, you'll notice more. You'll notice more things that are either going your way in a way that, is a positive thing where you intended and wanted to go, and you sort of realizing, oh, things are totally going my way, and that's great. And then you'll also notice areas where, you put some time and energy into, and it just doesn't seem like things are panning out. And you only start to get to that place of noticing when you're active in your life versus passive. Passive is just allowing things to go by. And sometimes it's good to allow and wait and see and gather more information. But that's different than being passive. That's an active part of allowing. Passive is really just like kind of putting up your hands and, being at the whim of the world. And it usually doesn't get you what you want. And it can be a frustrating thing to be. It can be, you can, encounter less resistance, like I said, but it's not going to get you where you want to go. I'll just say that. It's going to save you time and energy in the long run when you communicate up front. When you're, going into a business deal, would you go into it not knowing how much, if you were going to sign a contract, would you leave the money off of that? Would you leave the terms off of that? So it's very interesting to think about other areas of our life in that way. Why do we participate in relationships and communicating with somebody else when we don't have the information we need, or we're not asking for it? So it's going to save you lots of time and energy on the long run, and it's going to align you what you do want and need. It's really going to bring you into a space of satisfaction and happiness in this area. So you're going to be able to work smarter, spend time and energy on the things that make the most impact and satisfaction for you. It brings you into a leadership role in your own life. You can more easily influence your life and everyone around you when you're communicating your ideas and feelings easily. We'll get into the practice a little bit more later, but just know that the more you practice, the easier it's going to be. And so often, chances are that other people could be feeling the same way about a situation that you are. And when you open up to communicating about things, and personal and professional, leads to easier relationship for everyone, because, it's a back and forth, and you've opened that channel. You've opened the communication lines to go back and forth, because it's even when you're saying something to someone else, it's always a back and forth. You've always opened a channel. And when they're listening and receiving, they're processing that information. It's an active process between two or more people. So it's really interesting and important to remember. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about how if you're not disagreeing with something, you're unconsciously agreeing to it. This is different than allowing. Allowing is like when you just sort of see the need to have something play out in front of you before you sort of take a stance or take action. It's an information gathering, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But if you're not disagreeing with something that you don't agree with, you're unconsciously agreeing to it. So if you're seeing situations going on around you, or in a relationship, and you don't feel quite right about it, but you're not saying anything about it, you're unconsciously agreeing to that. And I think that you're going to find that the more that goes on, sometimes the harder it can feel. Like it can break. You can easily break out of it, but it just takes one conversation or saying one thing to say how you really feel. Because rather than hope for the best, do your best instead of waiting for things to sort of line up or hopefully go your way, or somebody hopefully, communicate in a way that works for you or treats you lovingly, or, somebody is like, the universe isn't going to drop the job of your dreams in your lap without you applying for it, right? It's like we have to be active rather than hope for the best. Do your best. You are the X factor in your own life. It is up to you to make any changes or participate in life in any way that you want. You are the change maker. You are the boss lady or boss man for any guys watching here. And whatever way you choose to say it, when you approach all that you do with all that you are so much more likely to create the life that you want. Whatever you choose to say it, be clear. The best communication decisions come from the heart and the head. So this sounds easy enough, right? All these concepts I'm talking about sound easy enough, right? But what leads us to not doing that all the time? This is where the subconscious and unconscious patterns come into our life. That is a picture right there of an iceberg. That is the very stereotypical way that we talk about the subconscious mind. This is a little out of proportion because the actual tip of the iceberg is just the conscious part of your mind, right? It's the active uptime thinking where we feel like we really have the power, but we actually don't. In the conscious mind, it's we're on a cycle, we're on a repetitive loop. And all of the loops that we're on come from this underneath the surface place right here. You see underneath the surface of the water, that's where the subconscious mind is. And it actually is responsible for anywhere from 93 to 97% of our daily repetitive thoughts are actually from the subconscious. It governs how we learned to interact in the world. I learned something really fascinating. I already knew that the subconscious was essentially programmed by the time we were 7, but I did not know that children are always in a theta brainwave from 0 to 7. So they're always subject to just being programmed. And that's what their brains are doing. Their brains are actively attuned to the outside world, being a sponge and soaking in, but they're basically in a hypnotic state during this time. So what you learned from 0 to 7, how to interact with your family, how you saw them interacting with one another, essentially programmed you. That's really fascinating. And also for most of us, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to communicate like my parents did. They're great people, or they did a lot of good things, but communication may or may not have been something that was a strong suit for them. And we're all just products of our environment, their patterns, and there are so many ways that people learn to shut down their voices. So many ways. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So this left side of the brain is, just the gray part, the one that's been patterned over time. And this one on the right is when we're coming to life. We're going to reprogram all of this stuff. But some of the ways that we learned to fit in, to interact with our outside world, was modeled behavior, with dynamics, and it all revolves around safety, security, and fitting in. This is all primitive brain stuff. This is the fact that we are actually, humans are tribal creatures. We have a big part of our mind that is just wired for connection and to avoid rejection, because there's a part of us that we were in almost we did evolve from a less conscious life form, and that was in a very, very tribal and interconnected community. So we learned a lot of different things. We learned that we had to fit in, and we also learned that we had to be significant. It's a fine line, it's a balance. A lot of our patterns around communication, and especially the ones that suppress us from speaking up, are these dynamics, right? And you have to remember that in our society, it was not very long ago that children were to be seen and not heard. And we were literally raised by those people. We were raised by the people who were just taught to be quiet, to do what they needed to do, to live and work in life. And they were taught not to speak up. So how would they be able to raise children that were able to speak up for themselves and encourage their voice? And some of our parents, did a good job at that as best as they could, and some didn't. So we're taught in so many ways to shut down our voices. And in dynamics, this is where your caregivers or your parents interacted with one another, and how they interacted with yourself and your siblings. This is a huge way that we essentially become programmed. And this also has to do with birth order. So when we came into the family, who was already present, who and the personalities involved in one another, how did things play out, how did things enmesh. We learned a lot, and we learned that we just had to become whatever fit around what was already there. This is a huge dynamic piece, and it's really, really interesting for you to start to unravel those layers just by thinking about who's around you. Were your parents loud or quiet? Did they encourage you? Did they have time and space to hear your voice? Did they even ask you about your feelings or your opinions on things when you came home? And when you start to really think about this, you can easily connect the dots about why or how you use your voice the way that you do. Things that you are really uncomfortable talking about. It could be because you don't even easily connect to your own feelings on those things. It could be because nobody asked you your opinion, so you didn't learn a process that a child needed to learn to feel into how they were feeling, and to have thoughts forming, opinions, and based on logic and also on feeling. Really, really important. And in dynamics, maybe one parent called the shots or had more influence than the other parent. Maybe one parent was more reactive or more angry. And sometimes those are the ones that we notice more easily, right? The parents who were louder, who spoke out, who spoke up. And we learned a lot from them. We learned a lot about anger. We learned a lot about expression. We learned a lot about whether or not it was safe to express a negative feeling. Chances are the people that you learn from, you interact in similar ways, or maybe you're even afraid of your own anger or reject it. Maybe you learned that to be angry was to as a child was to be punished, or maybe somebody else raised their voice back at you. So you learned that there was no winning, or somebody left the room. There's all sorts of ways that we learned or didn't learn that our voice was heard or mattered. Also, we learned from the people who were quiet. We learned from the people who didn't speak up, and oftentimes they may have felt that was a safer thing, not rock the boat, not cause conflict. But in essence, that could have also made us feel unprotected or unsafe if somebody wasn't speaking up for something that was an injustice or out of integrity. This is really, really fascinating interplay. It can teach us a lot about how to be powerful, how to be domineering, how to raise your voice. Or if you were just, quiet, and did your own thing, or even left the house in times like that. Super important. And this is, sometimes kids who didn't get their needs met have just as much time in interpersonal relationships, have just as much of a difficulty rather communicating that people experience severe abuse because they don't feel connected to their feelings. And if you have no model for effective communication as a child, you literally need to recreate your own blueprint later on. That's what we're going to help you start to do today. So a lot of these reasons why we might not want to cause conflict, to not rock the boat in relationships, to stay safe, to keep ourselves safe. There's a big feeling in relationships that if we say how we feel and the other person disagrees with it, we might lose their connection, we might lose their love, we might lose their approval or hurt their feelings. And most of us, especially women, were wired not to do that. We were, sort of imprinted to do nice things, to be nice, to be agreeable. And, I've known clients and people in my own life who, even in the face of assault, didn't speak up because they were afraid that they were being too aggressive, or they were questioning in their own mind if it was really happening in this moment, and they didn't feel like they had the power to use their voice because they were afraid of offending someone else. This is a very, very common thing, especially for women in our culture. It also indicates, of course, being in a face of trauma, being in a freeze moment. But most of us weren't taught to speak up in those situations, not taught to speak up for ourselves. And we all, like I said, in safety, security, and fitting in, we want to find connection and avoid rejection. And oftentimes that drives us. So my question for you is, are you going to play it safe, or are you going to play it real? I hope you choose to play it real. And here's where we're going to talk about the throat chakra and the heart chakra, these energy centers that I mentioned in the beginning. I don't have time to explain the whole science behind energy centers today. There's a lot of information online about it. And the chakras in our life are basically the points where these giant energetic channels of energy are running through our body, and what governs what. This is totally, Chinese medicine based, scientific based on ancient Eastern medicine practice and culture. It's an actual thing. So we have 7 major energy centers, but the 2 we're talking about today are the throat, which governs expression, creativity, communication, and the heart, which governs meaning, feeling, love and connection, all of that. And both of these, the throat's probably the most major one, but the heart definitely comes into play, because in balanced communication, we're consulting not only the logic of our mind, but also the feeling, the heart chakra, what we feel about a situation. Sometimes our feelings are more important information than the logical mind, because oftentimes we've been given partial information on something, or it's not the other person's intention to miscommunicate, but sometimes we have more of a clear recognition or knowledge about something based on how we feel, our intuition. What does this feel good? Does this feel bad? Does this person feel like they're really communicating everything that's important? Or do I feel like they're holding back? Or sometimes you just know a situation is for you. It's a big yes. So your heart can tell you that. Or logically, you might not know a lot about a project, but your heart's saying, yes, go for it. And that's communicating to you very clearly. So in order to clear these things out, sometimes we need to recognize how we've shut our own throat and heart down. And when our energy centers get blocked, it's because of sometimes traumatic events or hurtful events in the past. And if you believe in past lives, it can also be from past lives. That has been my experience, that some people come in already feeling blocked, or already feeling like they've carried something over that doesn't make logical sense to them. And this is often a past life thing. But If you notice that you're out of balance in your throat chakra, you could have dental issues, you could have a sore throat, you could have sinus infection, you could have strep throat, or just get sick easily in your glands. Sometime when I'm going through like a big change, or even recognizing something I know is going to help me evolve or change me, I get kind of a sore throat, and that's my energy center clearing itself for what's going to come in. And so it's really, really interesting when you start to pay attention to these parts of your body. The heart, if you know that it's out of balance, sometimes it's you just go into new situations, maybe into a new relationship or even a new job, and you just don't feel that open to it, or you don't feel receptive, even though you really like this person or really are excited about this new job. But if you have had disappointment or hurt in the past, it can cause you to have shut down your heart quite a bit. And sometimes this is also a hunching of the shoulders. It's like we're trying to protect the heart area. It's a very unconscious somatic patterning of actually blocking your heart from being open and receptive, because when it's open and receptive, it's best to our ability. A lot of us spend a time in a chair curled up, or in a car, and that the bucket seat can cause us to have this. But the more we are sort of open, we feel like the front of our body is open, our shoulders are back and relaxed, our heart is open and receptive to give and receive. Of course, the most severe indications of our heart being closed are having any sort of heart issues, physical heart issues, like angina, heart attack, arrhythmic heart, all sorts of different areas in the heart that can be out of balance. Also, we can just get chest pains, or heartburn. Very, very obvious and interesting indicator that your heart's going through something is when we have heartburn. So just thinking about that as we go on. And I'm going to build the clearing into your neural reprogramming later, but very easy techniques to think about clearing these areas when you're communicating, or when you're visualizing yourself having a communication with somebody, is to just imagine that these spaces in your body are clear. So you can do a really quick visualization together. It's so simple that people think that it couldn't be real, or that it's not true. But trust me, I've used these situations with myself and with clients in the past, and it's absolutely real, because energy responds to energy. So when you have a clear intention to clear something, even with your imagination, it's actual, it happens. It clears the energy centers just by visualizing. So one really, really great way is that water can be a great symbol for flow of the emotion. So if we're feeling blocked in our throat or blocked in our heart, you can just imagine that, like, let's say we are in a waterfall in Hawaii. So just close your eyes now. Picture yourself walking up to a waterfall. You can be all alone if you wish, not be distracted by others. You're walking up to this incredible force of nature that is this waterfall. It's a beautiful day. And I want you now just to walk right up to that waterfall. Stand on a rock right next to it, where the water's coming right down on it. Imagine that you're walking into that waterfall, and it's like your body becomes almost permeable, like the water can come into the inside of your body. And you just see it washing down from the very top of your head, coming into your throat. Just feeling this flow of water come into your throat. Start to wash away any blocks. Start to wash away any old hurts, any old reasons you might have shut your voice down. cleansing, rinsing. Releasing any fears, any old negative feelings. And the water is coming into your heart. It's rushing down your entire spinal column and all over your body. It's washing away, rinsing away old toxic thoughts, old toxic feelings. It's coming into your heart. It's removing any old hurts. Any mental, emotional, or physical blocks. Feelings that you couldn't be yourself, be who you are. Just letting it all go. Learning the lessons and moving on. Washing, seeing it wash all away. It's becoming purified in the water. Going back to nature. See it cleansing the sides of your throat, the sides of your neck, all throughout your nose, your throat, your teeth, your glands. All the cells in your body are listening, they're opening, and they're responding. And the more you do that, the more it will be easy to do. Just letting it all go, allowing it to go, knowing you can return to this and practice this at any time. That when you do, it will become quicker in the moment. So when you go to speak your truth or to talk to someone, it'll be a much easier process. So in this experience, I invite you out. I invite you to return to the here and now. We're going to do the transformation in just a few minutes. One good thing to keep in mind for a practical aspect of communication is it's great to go into these situations with an intention rather than an agenda. Agendas ask for the response from the other person to be a certain way. It can be quite a setup for you because you can't control how they're going to see it or react to it or feel it in any way. You can only control how you present the information and whether or not you do your best. You have no control over how someone who chooses to receive your message. So I invite you to just say it and then let it go. And know that in communication, you have all the information that you need. And if you don't have the information you need, ask for it. You're always entitled to ask for more information or need more time, but know that that can also be a trap of information gathering and not actually breaking through and doing what's hard. Information gathering can become an excuse. We think that if we have all the information, it'll keep us safe or we'll know exactly what to say, and oftentimes that is just a trap. It's just the ego not wanting to deal with what's hard, and I promise you when you deal with it, it'll be easier because oftentimes our resistance to not communicating or not doing the hard things is actually just fear in another form. So I invite you now, we're going to do the transformation portion of our session. So get really comfy. This is a full hypnotic portion of the session, which all that means is we're going to get you into alpha and theta brainwaves so that we can reprogram all of these amazing things into your mind, and that communication with confidence will flow easily and be your new reality. So get really comfy. Wherever you are, you can be sitting up or you can be lying down. Just make sure that your spine is straight and you can breathe easily and allow yourself to relax. Obviously, if you're driving, do not listen to this recording. Only when you have time to take for yourself. So just settling in, starting to take some really nice deep inhalations and exhalations, nice deep belly breaths into your body. Full inhales and full exhales. Allowing all of your muscles and all of your nerves to turn loose, let loose as you relax and let go. Breathing easily, very easily in and out of your body. Now I want you to take your eyes, and I want you to make sure your eyes are open. And I want you to take your eyeballs, and just with your eyeballs, the rest of your head, neck, and body are in a neutral position. I want you to look up as high as you possibly can. Just with your own eyeballs, it might feel funny to be looking up just with your eyeballs as high as you possibly can. You could feel some straining in your eyes. They could be becoming heavy or droopy or drowsy. It's all perfect. Just making sure now that you're looking up just with your eyeballs as high as you possibly can. You're breathing easily. In and out of your body, you're allowing all of your muscles and all of your nerves to turn loose. Let loose as you relax and let go in your mind. Your body is completely relaxed. Your body feels amazing, feels wonderful, is letting go. Just a few more deep breaths, just like that. With each inhalation, you're allowing the new in, and with each exhalation, you are letting go of anything that you no longer need. That is perfect, just like that. Your eyelids are becoming heavy, droopy, drowsy, and on your next exhale, I want you to keep your eyeballs looking up, and I want you to close your eyelids down on top of your raised eyeballs. That's perfect, just like that. You're finding that your eyelids are sealed shut, locked tight, glued together. You can forget all about your eyes now. Let them go wherever they need to go, and just allow a drifting, floating feeling to develop in your body. You don't need to do anything except to relax and let go. And you're letting go easily now as you picture in your mind a set of 10 steps in front of you. This set of 10 steps can be made of anything at all, anywhere at all. And once you have that in your mind, you're seeing yourself at the top at step 10. And when I count you downward, you're going to see, hear, and feel yourself touching each step as you move down, drift down, travel down to the deepest level of relaxation, moving now easily from step 10, seeing yourself move on to step 9, seeing your feet, hearing your feet, feeling your feet on step 9. As you gently, calmly, easily move on to step 8, moving to an even deeper level of awareness of yourself, relaxing and letting go, allowing your body to let go all of your muscles and all of your nerves are turning loose, completely loose. As you step onto step 7, your body is relaxing, your mind is opening, your mind is relaxing and letting you in. Your mind is becoming incredibly soft and suggestible to all the positive suggestions you're going to make to yourself today. Your mind is receptive. As you move on to step 6, you're going even deeper, sinking even deeper, drifting even deeper, taking step 5. All of your muscles and all of your nerves are completely loose. Taking step 4, any sound, sensation, or feeling in or around your environment commands you to go deeper, to drift even deeper, to sink even deeper. You're listening to the sound of my voice. As you take step 3, you move easily on to step 2, going even deeper on step 1. And as I snap my fingers, you're going even deeper. As I snap my fingers, you're drifting even deeper, sinking even deeper, going even deeper. That's perfect, just like that. Finding yourself now at such a beautiful space, feeling amazing, feeling wonderful. And as you listen to the sound of my voice now, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know everything, because you know all that it is that you need to know. Your subconscious mind is listening. And the subconscious mind is the most powerful part of your entire body, and it is opening and is listening. And the most phenomenal power lies in suggesting things to this powerful part of your mind. And it is open, it is receptive, it is listening to the sound of my voice. And right now, you are releasing, you are eradicating, you are eliminating any blocks to speaking up, speaking out, speaking your truth. You are absolutely shattering the need to shut down your voice, to keep quiet. You're letting go of the need to not rock the boat or keep the peace, because it is absolutely a useless pattern. Those might have been the patterns that a child needed to feel safe, but because you're not a child, it is not relevant to you anymore. So you are releasing, eliminating, crushing, and smashing all of those old patterns and beliefs. You see yourself now in any way that feels good to you. You could just be smashing it with a hammer. You could be sending out an arrow of love and letting it go and letting the love dissolve all of those old patterns. You could be physically breaking it up in your body, seeing any tightness in your body or any restriction, any armor, any ties that have tied you up. You're seeing yourself now eliminating those, letting them go. Your body and mind are relaxed, open, and receptive. You are ready. You are ready to be the most powerful version that you can be of yourself. You are ready. You are accessing now the change-making voice, the X-factor voice, the powerful innate voice that lies within you, because there is absolutely nobody else like you. There never has been, and there never will be. And right now you are accessing the clearest, most strong, most powerful voice you've ever had in your entire life. And this voice will get you everything that you need to get out of life. It will help you communicate in the most effective, most loving. That doesn't always mean like a pushover or kind, but loving means standing up for yourself, standing up for what you think is right, using your voice, using your opinion, and that belongs to you. This strong, powerful, confident, rock solid voice This clear voice now is developing in your body, in your mind, in your soul. This voice is taking shape. This voice might have a beautiful color. Imagining this voice has a very clear, crystal clear, bright color to it. It could be blue, it could be pink, it could be gold, it could be white, whatever it is. Making a shape for this voice in your body. This metaphor will help you access that voice whenever you need it. So this voice is taking shape. This voice is just the perfect size for you. And if the voice needs to be bigger, it can be bigger. If the voice needs to be smaller, because that's what's called for, it can be smaller, but it's always clear. It's always true. This voice is authentic to you. It's perfect for you now. And you're accessing now. This voice now and forever is always going to be installed in your body. And whenever you need to use it or access it, it's going to be readily available for you. This voice is strong. This voice is clear. This voice can be as loud as the roar of a lion. You picture yourself when you need to speak up and speak out very strongly. You can use that beautiful image of a lion in your head, just opening its mouth and roaring, using its voice. Lions, just to allow this sound to come through. They don't judge it. They don't block it. They don't stop it. They let it come through. They let it be strong. So you see yourself now in all situations in your life, speaking up when you need to speak up, asking for information that you need, trusting your opinions and feelings because they are unique and valid. You are literally the only blueprint of you. There has never been anyone like you, and there never will be again. And the world needs your voice, needs your light. So you speak up, you speak out, you speak clearly. You say what you mean, and you say it clearly. You don't always have to oblige, but you must always speak obligingly. Knowing communication, verbal and nonverbal, will get you everywhere you need to go. You communicate with clear intention. You take time to feel into the intentions in your life and in your body, in your experience, in your mind, what you're sensing and feeling. It's all beautiful, relevant information that goes into communication. And because you're so strong, you're indifferent to what other people think or feel about you. It is none of your business. It is not relevant for you to take this in account. When you need to communicate what you need to communicate, you absolutely access this incredible, powerful, amazing voice. And you access it easily. And right now and forevermore, you will always successfully and completely convey your ideas and feelings when the moment is right. You picture yourself now, imagining conversations that previously were difficult for you. You take time to think about what's important about this conversation. What's important? What do you need to communicate? What does it mean to you? You have these little rehearsals in your mind, speaking up, speaking out, saying what you need to say. For very difficult conversations, or even just really important business conversations or communications, you practice saying it out loud. First, you write out what's important for you. You might even write out a script or mentally think about what it is that you need to say, and you practice saying it with ease. you use this throat and heart chakra clearing, seeing this water cleansing and healing your throat and heart and all of your body. When you go in to communicate in these situations, your throat and heart are completely clear. The energy and words flow easily. Communication, ideas, feelings are all flowing so easily. It is a beautiful symbol of giving and receiving. You're successfully conveying your ideas and feelings now and forevermore. You take time to have clear intention around all of your communications, verbal, nonverbal, over technology, over social media, what you're saying, what you're not saying. It's all based on the meaning you want to create in your life. You send strong messages, you send clear messages, you teach people in the world how to treat you, you teach them what you want. And because you do, you're working smarter. You're spending time and energy on things that make the most impact for you. It brings you into leadership, into your own life. You're influencing and balancing all areas of your life, and everyone and the whole world around you is now responding to your clear, strong, powerful voice. You practice and practice becomes perfect. When you open your voice, when you open a channel of communication, it makes everybody else feel that ease around you, that it's easy to speak up, it's easy to talk about things, it's easy to talk about things that were previously difficult or hard. You're incredibly active, you're taking out of life what it is that you most want. You're communicating with your thoughts, actions, feelings, words, and conversations about the life that you are creating. And no matter what happens in these communications, no matter which way it goes, you know that you're getting closer and closer and closer to living the most authentic, powerful, satisfying life that you can, because you are actively communicating and participating in your life. And this is creating the life that you want, the process that you feel amazing in. You are giving and you are receiving, and the more you give, the more life will give you. You take time every day to check in with your heart, check in with the logic of your mind about all situations in your life. And you make decisions every single day to communicate with your life in all the ways that you can, spending time on the things that matter most to you. If you ever need to engage in conflict or have a difficult conversation, you know that you can always respect the way that you chose to deal with that, because you dealt with it. And it's going to feel really, really good. You know that as a confident, powerful, incredible, amazing adult, it is always going to be safe for you now to speak your truth, say what you need to say what you mean, say how you feel. You're indifferent to what other people think and what the world does with any of that information, because you know that it's all just information in life, and the relationships that are aligned with you will create much deeper intimacy, understanding, and connection. And if something is out of alignment with your life, you know that that will tell you all the information you need to know about that. And when you have the information, you can respond to the information. So you have courage now. You see this crystal clear picture of that voice you created. You see the size, the shape, the color. You're installing it right now into your body, into your mind, into your throat, into your heart forever. Now it is installed completely securely. And whenever you need to access this voice, it is here for you. It is clear. It is beautiful. It is powerful. It is amazing. You have courage. You have confidence. You have rock solid confidence in your life, in yourself. You are at peace knowing this voice, this expression is within you to be accessed at any time. You know the world needs your powerful, beautiful voice, and you speak up, you speak out, you speak easily, you speak lovingly, and you always speak your truth. You take time to listen to this as often as you need to install your voice, to use your voice to clear your voice. You have all the tools that you need to communicate effectively. And when I'm going to count to from 1 to 5 right now, when I say 5, you're going to be fully aware, fully awake, ready to face the rest of your day, feeling refreshed, relaxed, and rejuvenated. 1, coming back into your body. 2, filling up your lungs, taking a big, deep breath. 3, exhaling, letting it all go. As I click my fingers, you're letting it go. And 4, coming back in. 5, fully aware, fully awake. And if you ever listen to this before you go to sleep, sleep comes to you easily. You dream the most healing, relaxing, rejuvenating dreams. And you can do that anytime at all, including right now. So you can just take your time to stretch, coming out of that nice deep alpha and theta brain waves. Could be feeling sleepy, you could be feeling a little bit out of it. It's all perfect. So glad you enjoyed it, Jennifer. This is wonderful. And for anybody watching the replay, knowing that the more you listen to that hypnotic recording, the more you're actually building this into your mind, your body, your cellular memory. The more you listen to it, the more it would become just a natural process. You won't even have to think about it. It will just become a part of you. I am so happy that you ladies decided to join me today. And we're going to be doing a lot more of these sessions. I invite and welcome your suggestions, your contributions, things that you're dealing with in relationship in your life. And knowing these are free sessions open to anybody who gets on the email list, and you can get the link to the session from there to join. And I will be sending out the replay later on today. So much love to you all. Have the most amazing day. Make it a great one. Sending you so much love. Bye.